Now, before departing for Davos for the World Economic Forum, U.S. President Trump said his message for the global audience is simple: America first.
Well, I think I have a lot of messages for Davos, but the primary message is how well the United States is doing. And I say it all the time. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country, and now we have the hottest country in the world. I mean, you're beneficiaries, too. If you look, some of you have 401ks. You don't have to tell me your numbers are the best they've ever been. And the stock market's at an all-time high. We are just doing great. So I think the message in Davos, we're leaving, going to have an interesting time. We have a lot of meetings scheduled, but the message for Davos is how incredible our country is doing.
Now, the America First message from President Trump was amplified by U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who participated in a panel session at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Lutnick said globalization has failed and that WEF is a flag that moves wherever the wind blows.
I think you should start at a much higher level. Okay? We are in Davos at the World Economic Forum. And the Trump administration and myself, we are here to make a very clear point. Globalization has failed the West and the United States of America. It's a failed policy. It is what the WEF has stood for, which is export, offshore, far shore, find the cheapest labor in the world, and the world is a better place for it. The fact is, it has left America behind. It has left the American workers behind. And what we are here to say is that America First is a different model, one that we encourage other countries to consider, which is that our workers come first. We can have policies that impact our workers. Sovereignty is your borders. You're entitled to have borders. You shouldn't offshore your medicine. You shouldn't offshore your semiconductors. You shouldn't offshore your entire industrial base and have it be hollowed out beneath you. You should not be dependent for that which is fundamental to your sovereignty on any other nation. And if you're going to be dependent on someone, it darn well better be your best allies. Okay? And so that is a different way of thinking. It is completely different than the WEF. I viewed the WEF as not a flagpole in the middle, but in fact, they are the flag. Whichever way the wind blew, so it blew. You should have solar, you should have wind. Why are you going to do solar and wind? Why would Europe agree to be net zero in 2030 when they don't make a battery? They don't make a battery. So if they go 2030, they are deciding to be subservient to China, who makes the batteries.
Now, our Rise business correspondent, Rhodas Odiri, joins us live from Davos now for more on this. Good morning to you, Rhodas. It is day 3, and we are certainly loving the great panels, the insights and voices from WEF2026. Thanks to you and the Davos team for keeping us up to speed so far.
Thanks, Abby. Good to be with you. Good morning to all our viewers. Great to be here.
Sure, let's get into it. Now, let's begin with the talk of the day. A night before addressing an international audience, Trump said his message to the world is that the U.S. markets are doing well. Now, why would you say that? What do you reckon? Why was this approach taken?
Yeah, I mean, for anyone who's, curious, it's interesting, right? I mean, you're heading to an international event here at Davos, Switzerland. You have an international audience. Why are you talking about U.S. markets? Why are you talking about stock markets and 401ks and things like that? It's because, Abby, that there are two things. People think that U.S. President Trump is untouchable and answers to no one. But he does answer to two entities. One, the American people when it comes to voting, and two, the U.S. markets. And the reason why he brought it up was because Tuesday night, or rather Tuesday, was a day of a lot of concern. And I'll start with the Prime Minister of Greenland, Jens Leonard-Stinner, I think. And he essentially said that military action from the United States is not off the table. He essentially said we're prepared for anything. His quote goes along the lines of, while not taking the military action off the table, it could still happen. Then he didn't mention Trump by name. He says the leader of the other side has also said that we're not taking military action off the table. So we are basically prepared for anything. And that was essentially an escalation. Okay, look, this thing is real. The U.S. actually could take Greenland by force, and the markets reacted accordingly. I've heard you talking about gold now, touched 4,700. Looks like it's at 4,008 now. Silver hitting $95 an ounce, inched a little bit to 94 this morning. S&P 500, the Dow Jones, the Nasdaq, all falling yesterday. The dollar also being weaker yesterday as well. And bond yields, trust me, Treasury Secretary Bessent, Trump, they look at bond yields. If you take you back to, April of last year, that quote-unquote Liberation Day, the bond vigilantes, as they called them, reacted adversely. Bond yields spiked, which means that U.S. interest payments get more expensive. And so that's the reason why he was talking up the markets, saying the markets are an all-time high, everything's great, because he was trying to essentially temper down the reaction to what's been going on with Greenland. But I have to say, and I'm putting myself here on the spot here, maybe this will come back to bite me, but it's questionable as to whether the U.S. will take that extra step of military action on Greenland. NATO is a NATO ally, right? When you think about Denmark and everything, so maybe it will come down to financial conditions. But based on the market reaction yesterday, military action would be pretty catastrophic.
Right, and we certainly are seeing almost an immediate multiplier effect to a very recent event. So very interesting times we are in, Reuters. Now, we also heard from both French President Macron and U.S. Commerce Secretary Lutnick. Now, how clear would you say the ideological divide here was?
Yeah, first of all, I really loved Macron's aviator shades. Our technical head here, I kept calling him Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible and everything. Because he apparently burst a blood vessel in his eye and had to get surgery, and that's why he was wearing those shades. But the ideological divide was pretty stark between Macron of France and, of course, Lutnick from the U.S. Because, Macron's speech, he talked about multilateralism and how he wants the world to work together and trade and build ties. And global supply chains are already integrated. We saw the impact with COVID. Things were shutting down. So the world is a global village, and the world is, integrated, right? Lutnick, on the other hand, is saying you played the clip. No, it's that's not what works. He says, WEF is a flag and so on and so forth. But specifically, Lutnick is a protectionist. He's carrying that Trump mantra of protectionism. Meanwhile, Macron wants multilateralism. Macron very much on clean energy, and it needs, for our viewers, for anyone who heard Lutnick saying that Europe cannot build a battery, that is not correct. And Tesla has a gigafactory in Berlin. We've got other companies in Europe that are building batteries. Yes, they may not be at the scale of China, but renewable energy accounted for about 1/3 of GDP growth in Europe in, I think it was 2024 or 2025. So there's a big renewable energy push, and Europe, pound for pound, has the best, regulatory framework for battery technology and renewable energy on the planet. So, it's just Lutnick trying to push the U.S. agenda forward. But to answer your question, the ideological difference was quite stark between the two.
Certainly. I mean, we're seeing a stark difference between the push for multilateralism against protectionism. So, of course, we have to wait and see how things unfold. But in light of recent events and the current body language so far, what can Davos and the rest of the world expect to hear from Trump in his speech?
Well, Abby, I mean, President Trump is known to go off script. So, I mean, according to what he wants to come and talk about here, it's affordable housing in the United States. And you see, I take this back to the very first comment about the entities that Trump answers to. It's the American people and the market. So this affordability, which was put to the fore by Mamdani, the new mayor of New York, Trump said it was a hoax. It was like, what is this affordability? Now he has picked it up because of polls and sentiment in the United States, where the policy there are saying prices of homes and groceries and things are still high. So for that reason, he's coming to an international audience to talk about an indigenous matter that is domestic at home, about affordable housing. That's what he says he's going to talk about. He says he's going to roll out a housing policy. Beyond that, could he mention Greenland? Could he mention protectionism? Could he mention other European leaders? He's already said he's going to put tariffs on his allies. So it's anyone's guess. But the mood on the ground here, everyone is anticipating that speech. Of course, we've all heard about the delay in the flights. He had to switch planes. So he might come a little later than the 2 o'clock hour or 2:30 hour that we're expecting him to come give his speech. But we're ready. Arise News is ready. We'll get his comments, and it should be interesting. You can expect a headline or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 from Trump later today.
Yeah, it certainly should be. Well, we are certainly keeping ears to the ground, and we'll ultimately see how things unfold very soon. Now, we've run out of time for now, but many thanks, Reuters, for the updates, and we will see you again momentarily.